Hello there and welcome to Liz at Home and Watercolor Wednesday. Today I'm going to be doing an abstract watercolor. I've had some requests for that and I thought I would enjoy doing it. And I'm using a piece of fluid 100% cotton watercolor paper. It's 7 by 10 inches. And I received this in a subscription box a while ago. And I'm going to be taping it onto this file so that I can lift it if I want to. I'm going to just be using some washi tape to secure it. So I'm going to do that and then we can start painting. So now I've chosen a palette to use with this. It took me a little while to decide what to use, but I've decided on Daniel Smith Rose of Ultramarine, one of my favorite colors. Then Daniel Smith Moonglow, also a lovely sort of violety purple. Then Daniel Smith Zoisite, which is one of the Primatech colors and a lovely sort of dull green. And then Qor Titanium Buff. So I'm excited to be using these lovely colors to do the abstract painting with. As you can see, the paper is all nicely taped down with some green washi tape, and you can see the nice reflection of my glasses as I'm trying to get myself organized to start painting. And you can see my cuddly cozy dressing gown that I'm wearing as I paint this, because it is freezing cold outside and it's actually late at night. So right, so now I'm going to be using the wet on wet technique. So I'm first putting down a layer of clean water. At the moment, this brush I'm using, in case you're interested, is a Princeton snap brush. I think it's a 1/4 inch angled brush, but you can use any brush you like. This is one of my larger brush sizes, and I want to try and keep the paper wet, so I'm using it. And then it was making too many splashes, so I moved over to my round brush just to get the splashes onto the paper. And now I'm continuing with my 1/4 inch brush and just making sure that all the paper is wet. You can see it's already sort of starting to bubble and come a bit away from the back of the board that I've got it attached to. And you can see nicely in the camera that little dry patch up at the top that is more difficult to see in real life because the lighting's not always so great. So I want to try and make sure that all the paper is wet, and I'm going over and over it. But it's quite interesting to see that one's got to move it a bit to actually pick up that little part. And now I've managed to find it and I'm covering all the paper. So it's a nice damp piece of cotton paper, and we're going to carry on with our painting. Now, I must say I haven't got a huge plan with this. I wanted to have a palette decided on, and then I wanted to try and be as free as I could and play with these colors that I like. One of my favorite colors is this Rose of Ultramarine. It's a mixture of rose. I'm not sure if it's Rose Madder Lake or Permanent Rose, and Ultramarine, but it kind of separates and you get little bits of the blue and the pink. And I just think it's a fabulous color, and I'm just playing and putting bits of paint down and letting the paint play and spread and blossom and bloom and do what it wants to do. Now I'm going in with the Moonglow, which is another absolutely fabulous color, and just adding dashes and dabs. And then I basically just play, and I'm going to put music on for you to watch, because there's nothing to learn from this other than to watch and to get an idea of how you can play. It's very interesting for me to watch afterwards, because I see things that I don't really see so much when I'm busy doing it. But it's just a very relaxing and therapeutic exercise to play with the paints. So I'm going to put some relaxing music on and allow you just to watch and see, and you either like it or you don't. I'd love to know what you think. This is the Zoisite. I love this color. So I've sort of reached this stage, and I think I've done enough, and I've decided to splatter some water. So this is just water that I'm splattering on it, and then I want to see if I can get some drips. So I'm holding it up. It's still fairly wet, but the background paper has dried. Even though it's cold at the moment, pages do seem to dry quite quickly. The drips are starting to happen, but I'm going to try and encourage them a little bit with my paintbrush. I just want some drips to come down. As you can see, this is a completely intuitive piece, and it was all about trying to find freedom and trying to find some courage within myself to just express myself in some color. And I'm not sure if I like what's come out of it or not, but I'm putting some bubble wrap on certain places. That's a normal bubble wrap, and then I have a bubble wrap with quite large bubbles that I'm also going to pop down there. So I want to create some texture with those, and I'm going to leave it to dry overnight, and then I'll be back in the morning, or for you in the blink of an eye, and try to do something more and see what we land up with. So here we are, a new day, a new jersey, and I've taken the one bubble wrap off, and you can see the great texture and the different texture here. I find using things like that so they amaze me. My washi tape is not holding very well, I must say. It's virtually peeled off, but I am not going to be doing anything very wet now, so it doesn't matter. And I find this quite an interesting piece to look at. So now I'm going to do some mark making, and I've brought out my jar of random watercolor pencils. This is a Derwent watercolor pencil, and I'm going to dip it into the water, which is not something I regularly do, and I just want to make some marks. It's a kind of an Air Force blue looking thing, and I'm just doing kind of V's, doing a couple of random marks to add some interest. I find doing this sort of thing really, as an artistic exercise, I find it really, really good for me, because you've probably all realized by now that I suffer from a certain lack of self-confidence, particularly in myself as an artist or of any sort. I always feel embarrassed to even call myself an artist. But doing something like this, I just try to allow myself to go with the flow, and what takes my fancy and what catches my eye, I try to allow myself to go with that for the sake of building up that self-confidence and just allowing myself to be expressive and use materials and enjoy myself. And it's amazing actually what comes out afterwards, what you find. I had decided I didn't want to draw anything specific like flowers or leaves or anything, because that's always my go-to. I will see something like one of the round things and then turn it into flower. And I didn't want to do that. I'd say to myself, the idea of remaining abstract and just enjoying the shapes and the sizes and everything. As I look at it now, it could actually be a girl looking sideways, like a portrait in a way. One could have finished it like that, but I haven't. I see all kinds of things now, later on, as I step back from it. But I've just gone with shapes. So I really would challenge you to try an abstract piece. You need very little skill. It helps you to build skill, and it helps you to enjoy yourself. And I think if I've learned anything from this exercise, it's that perhaps I should step back from my work a bit more and see what I see before launching in, because it's quite fascinating. It could be an underwater scene, it could be anything. But I'm enjoying just making marks, and now I've got a micron pen, and I'm going to do some lines and scribbles with that. I've chosen a very, very fine micron pen. I think it's a 005, because I wanted the lines to be very fine, and I can see that sort of oval shape, and I was going to just do it, and then I thought, be free, and I just let my hand go and go with the scribbles and weave in and out and just enjoy making some marks on the paper. Then once again, there are circles there, but I decided to go with the lines of the drips and just do some lines. And I could have used a ruler, but I just decided to remain organic and be free. So the lines are not straight, and they're different distances away from each other. And that was also kind of fun for me to see, paying attention in an almost meditative way and see where the pen was taking me. So I found that a very soothing kind of exercise. And I'm just sort of playing around and looking and trying to decide, do I need to do more, don't I? I don't want to do too much either. I want to put something shiny somewhere, so I think I'm going to go with a couple of diagonal lines just so that it's often good to get some balance in something, to repeat some of that linear work. And I'm quite fascinated with looking at this picture. It really is interesting to see what can just happen when you allow the paint to play. So now I want to use some shiny paint, and I am using a Daniel Smith paint, actually. It's a duochrome Adobe. I think it's a rather lovely paint. I will link these paints for you below in case you're interested. They are all available at Amazon and also, of course, at Dick Blick. And if you're in South Africa, from Art Savings Club. If you're in South Africa and you want a link, please ask me. I'm not going to link them because I don't think I have a lot of South African viewers. But if you want a link, please ask me and I'll find a link for you. So I'm just going to do a little circle and coloring that in with this lovely duochrome Adobe. It's a shiny pearlescent type of paint. And on the one hand, I could have just left that as the only shiny bit, but I decided to go with some more and do a big circle as well. I tried a few small ones, but they're not showing up on the pink here. So I'm just leaving those as very few. And really just enjoying making marks. I think this kind of piece would be great to do something like this in an art journal and then write some text on it. So now I'm following one of the lines with my shiny paint and just following it all the way around. It really is just a freeing and instructive kind of exercise to do something like this. I have a great desire to do another landscape. I was thinking of trying to do a few African sunsets. A few of my friends, I don't know if any of you saw the short. I put a YouTube short up of a giraffe in slow motion that was taken by a friend of mine that was up at her farm near Kruger, in the greater Kruger area in South Africa. And yeah, I think all of these things are just amazing. I've never been to Kruger Park, believe it or not. So now I've decided to actually take this one circle that came from the bubble wrap and fill that one in. So we're coming to the end, and I'm just quickly signing this little piece, and then I'm going to need to take the washi tape off. And then I wanted to show you, I've put it in a little frame, and I wanted to show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to take the washi tape off now and be back with the finished picture. So here we are, here's the finished piece. I hope that you like it. And I've put it in a mock-up of a frame in a room. So this is not real, this is just put on a photo app where you can put it into a frame to see what it would look like framed and in a room. And I think it looks quite nice. So it's always fun to do things like that and see what your art would look like if you actually framed it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I wish you well, stay safe and stay happy.